It is now official. The New York Rangers have traded away a longtime Ranger in Chris Kreider over to the Anaheim Ducks, and that is, of course, exactly what we're going to break down in today's video. The New York Rangers trading away Chris Kreider after lots of kind of talk about it possibly happening, and now it is official. We have seen Kreider traded away from the Rangers, which will open up a lot of cap space for this team and definitely could have a massive impact on what this Rangers team is able to do this offseason. So let's take a look at kind of what this trade was and really kind of talk about the positives and negatives of this deal for the Rangers, and we'll also talk a bit about what the Anaheim Ducks got back in return as well. But before we take a look at the actual trade here, I did want to mention, of course, that if you do enjoy daily New York Rangers content and you are a Rangers fan, this is the perfect place for you. So definitely hit that like and subscribe button for daily New York Rangers content, and also definitely don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on this trade. But let's get right into things here and take a look at the official trade, which ended up being the Rangers sending over to the Anaheim Ducks Chris Kreider, as well as a fourth-round pick, which was the pick actually the Rangers got back in that Jacob Trouba trade earlier on this season, and the Rangers are getting back a prospect by the name of Kreider, as well as a 2025 third-round pick, which ends up equaling out to about the Rangers moving up kind of 15 spots in this draft. You know, they give back that fourth rounder, they get a third back, and they end up basically moving up about 15 spots there in this upcoming draft. And of course, as always, I'll give you my honest opinion. And as a Rangers fan, I think this trade is pretty equal from both sides there. I think both teams kind of did what they needed to do. I mean, the Anaheim Ducks are obviously a team who are, trying to get out of their rebuild now. They have a lot of good, young players, prospects, lots of picks. They need to start kind of, going in the right direction there towards kind of winning, and adding in a guy like Chris Kreider, a solid vet who can, definitely score maybe around 30 plus goals there potentially for that team there, be a lethal guy on the power play unit there, probably PP1 alongside some of their kind of top young guys. So he can be a nice scoring kind of vet for them, somewhere in that top six, possibly also maybe help out a bit on the penalty kill. And of course, can bring a lot of experience because he is someone who obviously has gone on multiple long playoff runs there. So he's bringing a lot of playoff experience, a lot of just normal experience as a vet as well. So he could be a good add for a kind of young team like the Ducks. And for the Rangers side of things there, they end up, obviously getting rid of that $6.5 million cap hit. So they open up about $6.5 million for this season and next one after that as well. So I think that's pretty good kind of business there for the Rangers. They now have about $14.922 million in current cap space available as of right now. So that's obviously a much improved number from what it was before this trade happened. So the Rangers open up some cap space there. They end up moving up 15 spots in this draft. So, a little bit of a boost there, I guess you could say, but nothing too crazy on that side of things. But also, they get back a pretty solid prospect here in Kreider. And this is someone who I think, he might not be some kind of flashy kind of offensive threat there. He is, a forward, obviously. He's a centerman, and he doesn't have some crazy offensive numbers. So you may look at his kind of stats there and say, hey, this guy doesn't look too good there. What was this kind of trade and why would we do it? But you open up that cap space, you move up 15 spots in the draft there, and you also get back I would say, pretty decent looking prospect. Now, this is not someone who I would look at and say this guy has like top line potential, but this is someone who could very well end up becoming a maybe great kind of third line center for years and years to come. I mean, I'm not saying he's guaranteed to be that, but he has some of those kind of, characteristics and kind of a bit of that kind of play style there to kind of be a third line center possibly. I mean, from what I can tell there, and I'm not some guy who's watched the Erie Otters play constantly there, and that's where he did play, for his junior career there. He's now more than likely going to be taking the step up to pro hockey, but, he ended up the past few seasons there playing for the Erie Otters, of course, and put up some solid numbers. This season had a bit of a disappointing year, maybe offensively. Didn't quite take that big step up, but he is someone from all accounts there, from what I've read and kind of seen, he's a really great skater. That is something that definitely stands out. There is his skating ability. He is a very, very fast skater, which is a big plus, but he also is apparently a very solid kind of two-way guy. So from what I can tell there, he's got great skating ability, and he is a great two-way center. He brings some offense there, a little bit there for sure, but he brings a solid two-way game there, solid two-way center, which I think is exactly kind of what you want to have as your third-line center. So obviously, he's a guy who, yes, is about 20 years old now, didn't quite break that kind of point per game mark there in the OHL, but was a former second round pick though, a bit of a later second round pick back in the 2023 draft. So was a fairly highly touted prospect there. I believe has won a U18 gold and U20 gold as well with Team USA. So he's won a couple gold medals there with the junior teams there for Team USA. He's obviously a decently kind of rated prospect there. He's not a super high one, but I think this is a pretty solid prospect there. And getting back a guy like this there, and we know the Rangers have a kind of need for some center depth in this organization. And, going forward in the future, there are some prospects on this team, maybe like Dylan Rubrick, Noah Laba there, Bryce McConnell-Barker. Like there are some kind of solid center prospects in this system, but adding in another guy like this and Carey Terrence here, who very well kind of projects to potentially become a great kind of bottom six centerman, isn't the worst thing in the world. And yeah, it's not some flashy prospect. Like I said, it might not be a guy who kind of stands out there when you just look at his stats there, but I think when you really consider what this trade was and kind of why the Rangers did it, what they got back, I think is more than fine there. And personally, I mean, you take a look at kind of the Jacob Trouba deal there that happened earlier on, and the Rangers getting off him for nothing and actually getting back Urho Vakanainen, a decent depth defenseman who's kind of in his mid-20s there, and a fourth-round pick as well, which, of course, went back in this trade. But getting back a pick and a decent kind of depth defenseman for a massive negative contract in Jacob Trouba, I thought was a fleece in itself. This, I wouldn't say is quite a fleecing by the Rangers, but I would say it's a great deal, once again, by this Rangers team. And this one, I would say, is definitely great for both sides there. I think the Trouba deal, although it was kind of still maybe decent for the Ducks there to get a vet like that, but I just still think they could have done a better job there. They shouldn't have had to give up probably that fourth-round pick there in that trade. I mean, personally, I kind of thought the Rangers would have had to give up something alongside Trouba to get off that contract there if they weren't going to retain any money. So to me, I was pleasantly surprised with that. And Carey Terrence is also a 6'1" centerman, by the way, but 187 pounds, left-handed shot, and he is 20 years old, turned that in May, so obviously he isn't turning 21 until next May. Taking a look now, though, at his stats from this past season with the Erie Otters as the captain of their team as well in the OHL, he ended up having 45 games played, 20 goals, 19 assists for 39 total points, and also had 7 games played at the World Junior Championships with Team USA, where he ended up winning gold, having two goals there, 2 points total, no assists. Then you take a look, though, at the previous season with the Erie Otters there, ended up having 56 games played, 29 goals, 23 assists, 52 total points, so pretty good season there, not too bad. In the playoffs there, 4 points in 6 games played, not too bad. And then back in 22-23, as an assistant captain of the Otters, ended up having 67 games played, 30 goals, 17 assists, 47 total points, but was a -38. So to me, he may not be a guy who ends up becoming, a top 6 kind of star level guy being on the power play 1 there. But to me, he could definitely end up becoming possibly a really valuable, really decent kind of maybe 3rd or 4th line center there. He has that solid 2-way game, good defensively, pretty solid offensively there. Nothing too crazy offensively though, but, decent enough there. Has that great skating ability, has some kind of energy there. If he can kind of develop some more toughness and grittiness and kind of physicality, then there's really no reason to think he can't be a great kind of bottom 6 guy for years to come. Work on those faceoffs, of course, work on his all-around game, but there are some kind of good things about his kind of play style that really kind of replicate some of the things you want and kind of see in most third liners. So to me, this is a guy who, probably will take a couple years in the AHL to imagine there. He's already signed his NHL contract, so he'll definitely start the season in the AHL with the Wolfpack, I'd imagine. And, maybe a couple years out, but if he ends up becoming down the line a, really solid kind of 2-way third line center there, maybe killing some penalties, bringing some energy there, playing with some physicality possibly, that could end up being a pretty solid and valuable player. So to me, this was definitely a win-win trade for both sides there. Both teams kind of did what they needed to do there and got exactly kind of what they needed there. Rangers get their cap space, and obviously the Ducks get a scoring veteran forward. Anyways, that's going to do it for today's video. If you have enjoyed, definitely don't forget to click that like and subscribe button for daily New York Rangers content, as I do post every single day. And of course, definitely don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on today's video. What are your thoughts on this trade there? Do you agree with my opinion there? It kind of being a win-win trade for both sides there. Do you think the Ducks won? Do you think the Rangers won? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And also, how do you think Chris Kreider is going to do on the Ducks next season there if he's healthy? Do you think he can put up like 40 goals there, 35, 30, 25? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'll catch you in the next one, and let's go Rangers.